about what is going on. I'm E from Xbox. Again, thanks for coming, everyone. Let's get going. Can we start with just everyone introduce yourselves and talk about kind of why you're connected to Homeworld?
Hi, I'm Brian Martell. I'm a co-founder of Gearbox and chief creative officer, and I just think Homeworld's amazing and had the opportunity to acquire the IP, and it's just amazing.
Hi, I'm Rob Cunningham, co-founder of Relic Entertainment and art director on Homeworld 1 and 2, and CEO of Blackbird Interactive, now making the new Homeworld game Shipbreakers.
Hi, I'm Brian Burleson. I am the producer on all the Homeworld titles at Gearbox, and it is an honor to work on this franchise because, you know, working as a kid, you get to play these things and they're cool, and then be able to work on them and sit next to this guy is pretty crazy. So, got his.
Jimmy Barnett. I'm a 3D artist at Gearbox, and I just recently got involved with the HD remake of Homeworld. It's been amazing so far, so yeah, excited to talk about it today.
So the Homeworld franchise started just over 14 years ago, and there's probably a lot of people in the room and watching on the stream who don't really know that much about Homeworld. So can we talk about what Homeworld is, what made it special, why people still care today?
Homeworld was first released in 1999. It was a 3D RTS game set in space and had a big epic sci-fi road trip story of crossing the galaxy to find your legacy homeworld. Of course, you meet tons of bad guys along the way, and there's many explosions and so on. We followed it up with a Homeworld 2, which kind of rezzed it up and, you know, expanded the story in more detail. That's pretty much what was going on.
Okay, it's one that I remember playing. Homeworld was, I think it was the first 3D RTS, right?
Yeah, I think it was the first full camera 3D RTS. There were 3D RTSs, but they weren't really 3D. They were just rotating sprites from a fixed camera. So really, yeah, it was the first 3D RTS. It was cool too because we did scale really for the first time. So motherships were truly huge, and the strike craft were tiny. So we were trying to get away from the whole, you know, a factory this big builds a vehicle that big, you know, and make it a little bit more believable and cool.
Okay. Do we want to hit the slides and?
There we go.
Okay. So Homeworld started 14 years ago, then Homeworld 2 a couple of years later, and there hasn't been a Homeworld for Homeworld fans for a long time. And now there's going to be again, Homeworld HD. Let's talk about it.
So Homeworld HD is kind of the first thing we're going to be doing with the Homeworld franchise at Gearbox. And this is like, so there's a lot of really, you know, it's been a while since this came out, and we want to introduce this to a whole new generation of players who've never seen this, and also, you know, take it to that next level visually, so and in a lot of other ways, so that you can actually like experience it how, you know, you could have imagined it if you had played it back then. So, you know, the HD, you know, the first step in there is something that we're spending a lot of time making sure is done right. And I'm going to show you some stuff here in a second. That's going to be, it's work in progress stuff because we're still kind of working for, you know, the visual target. We're making sure that, you know, we're crossing all of our T's and dotting all our I's when it comes to making sure that this looks and it feels and follows the spirit of the original games. And so this is, I'm going to show you some before and afters here. And we're going to surprise Jimmy here and actually get Rob to give him some feedback on them live. So. Yeah. So these are Jimmy did these. He did them he finished them just this past week, and so they haven't gone through that kind of revision phase to hone them in. And so we're going to do this live. So check it out. So here's the original, and here's the HD work in progress. So there's another one. Kind of, you know, you see the pixels, not so much.
Nice. So I haven't seen any of this yet, by the way. So. You'll be getting it fresh.
Do it
I didn't know this
Feel
was
free to
happening
give
either,
some
so.
feedback, Rob.
Wait, go back to the last one and toggle forward.
I still can't figure out how this works. Oh, God.
Don't delete anything.
I believe in you.
Take that one. All right. How far do you want to go back? Because this is going to be fun. It doesn't. It pulls up the menu.
Try the other button. We'll get this one of these days. Guess we only go forward.
That's looking cool. Nice work.
Ah, thanks. Yeah.
Phew, I was like, gosh, I hope it's okay.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want to like, be in front of everyone here.
I love the scale of the ship. It's huge, and you can see it against the curve of the planet in the background.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, these textures were originally, they were so beautiful already. It was tough to really like work on them, and try to extrapolate this detail. But yeah, those guys that were originally working on it, talented guys, they made my job tough. So
Cool.
So
what do you
this
think, Rob?
might be a
It's
good.
too bad we couldn't do that in 2003, man.
I know, right?
This might be a good time for us to talk about how Homeworld and Gearbox came together, because the story is actually pretty interesting as to how Homeworld found a home here.
Yeah, so, as a pretty big fan of the franchise, it came to our attention that THQ was doing this auction, and that no one had, bid on this yet, or that the bidding process was starting. And so it was one of the leftovers after like the first bidding that they had done, so this was the second one. And so I went to Randy and said, look, I think we need to see if we can, bid on this and maybe we can get it. It hasn't been on any of the digital, platforms at all. And I thought that it would be great to be able to get it into people's hands that had never seen it before. Because it's kind of been languishing, I mean, you can still get CDs of it, around, but they're like the last run from the Sierra days. And it seemed really kind of silly that, I didn't understand why it hadn't been out, why THQ hadn't done anything with it. So we went through the process of finding out how to even bid. I mean, we had never done this before. So for us, like going through the process of, putting money in escrow and, getting our lawyers involved and just figuring out all this kind of stuff was kind of new and kind of cool. It was just an interesting learning experience at first. So we thought, well, if we don't do anything, we at least learn something about this process, right? So, but, as we kind of got further in, we kind of had enough, sort of our first bid was like, well, okay, well, that's close to what everybody else is doing. And we said, well, all right, let's kind of go forward. So we kind of all got around, and they did this big thing on the phone where they get all the different parties involved, and everybody kind of bids at the same time. And so you kind of go in order.
Did they have paddles and stuff?
No, because we were doing it all over the phone, so
Oh,
we didn't get to
that's too
have
bad.
the benefit of being in a room and doing that kind of thing, shenanigans. But so we just kind of kept going and ended up at 1.35 million.
So how long was that? Like minutes, hours? How's that work?
It was actually minutes, which was pretty nerve-wracking, especially when I'm watching my CFO's face, and he's just going, oh, just, yeah. And it was kind of funny. We had joked about we were in it to win it, and so Haley, our admin, she made shirts for us, and so we all had shirts that morning when we came in that said "in it to win it." So we wore the shirts while we were bidding.
Nice.
It was pretty silly, but yeah. And so we won it, and then we started. Digging into finding out, well, what does that really mean? What did we get? Because you could kind of look at what you were supposed to be getting, and then we went through the further due diligence once we got a lot of the assets. And I think there was a few shocks there, because the backups weren't quite where they should be.
Shocker.
Yeah, so we had to kind of reach out to the community, all over, all the ex-Relic folks, and find out who had what, from from the artwork to different content, audio files, everything.
I think it was about 40 gigs we put together, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah.
It was huge. So that was really great, and we didn't have any of that stuff, so that was nice.
Thanks, Rob, for the source. Yes, that was one of the things when you first got the source. It was really kind of hit and miss on some of the content. When you set out and you're like, we're going to make this HD, it's going to be awesome, we're going to re-release this, and then we can't compile it, it's kind of bad. So We, we took a lot of time trying to just figure out how everything was put together, and if it wasn't for the help of Rob and a bunch of the ex-Relic guys, we wouldn't be where we're at right now because it was really spotty. So, but as an upside of this, we actually got a lot of interesting things we had never known about, like a lot of concept art and a lot of stuff that wasn't necessarily in Perforce. We had a lot of interesting things that were like just as a fanboy, you'd click through all these images and all these directories from all these people from how many years ago who just scrolled these away on their like hard drives. And you find some really interesting work in progress stuff and not just the final thing that was checked in. And so I've shown a couple of those things on the forums. I'm going to show a lot more of that stuff as it comes up. But it's been a trip to go through all that stuff.
Yeah, and it was quite the trip down memory lane to dig up all that stuff too, or through the old archives where it's like old drive _ old drive, old drive, old drive, old drive, users, old drive, and you're like, whoa, and then you're like, whoa, I remember that, and it was misty-eyed many times, but it was lots of fun putting it all together.
There's also a few embarrassing photographs in there, I think.
I'm sure that I didn't screen it all before sending it to you guys, so I'm sure. I hope we keep those.
No, we'll make sure that they come out somehow.
Okay,
that'll be good.
Or they could be the next slide. You don't know.
For that, though, right?
Just watch for this.
They're coming up. So let's actually, one of the things that, visually this game is, Homeworld 2 is really pretty for its time, and, we're going to make it even better. But one of the things is the audio, like the soundtrack, that was a huge thing back in the day. Like Paul Ruskay did such an amazing job.
He did.
And one of the things that we're going to be working on, with him, going to go through, is some, Paul prepared us a little video. I actually have not seen the final revision of this, so let's hope that it's not crazy. But Paul, he's actually going to introduce himself, so he'll go through it all. But we need to switch over to a QuickTime video real fast. So could the computer guy? Cool.
Use this one.
I think we need audio, ironically. Oh.
Yeah, I think the tech elves are doing something for us.
Yeah. Cool. All right. While they're sorting that out, I can answer some questions. Oh, Mr. Failer, I'm right on top of it.
We'll have it in a few minutes.
Cool. All right. So one thing, if you're watching, please email us live questions at gearboxsoftware.com. We'll be answering them and be winning prizes, I believe. So, oh my God, my stuff is blowing up with questions. First question from Red Jevel at Gmail or something. Don't email that guy. Will Homeworld HD be available on Steam? And the answer is yes. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got.
It's probably worth pointing out there that for people who haven't gone looking for Homeworld, that right now you can't buy it. You kind of touched on it, but if you have a new computer and, hey, I'd like to go play Homeworld, I remember that, you can't get it today. It's not on Steam, it's not on Good Old Games, it's not anywhere. So this is a really big deal that it's coming back.
Yeah, it's getting it on Steam and actually being able to distribute these like actually easily and not be arduous is really big. And one thing we want to do is help with the mods to make sure that the distribution of the mods isn't arduous. It used to be like you actually had to, include a lot of the original game when you try to like distribute. So you'd have these huge files, and oh God. We want to make that easier for the mod community to actually get in there and make stuff. So here's an interesting question from Clifford Parrington. Will the Homeworld 1 release use the last official patch? The answer is yes, and it'll actually have more fixes involved there too. We want to make sure the balance is how you remember it. So we're not going to be messing too much with the balance of the game, as long as we're making sure that it's pretty much how you remember it and not broken. It's insane how many emails I've gotten from the original QA or from the people who worked on the game originally who said, "Oh my God, this thing is broken, and if you do this one command, it breaks 100% of the time. Please fix that." So we actually have a bug database where we've been accumulating all the stuff that people have been sending in, so we're going to fix those issues as well. So, I know, right? It's from the original QA guys. They're still there. All right. How are we doing up there? Good. Thumbs up. All right, let's do it.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all enjoying the Gearbox Community Day event 2013, and regrettably, I can't join you today, but in lieu of that, I've made this video to give you an update on the Homeworld audio and some of the exciting things that we're going to do with it. My name is Paul Ruske, and I was the original composer and sound designer on Homeworld 1, Homeworld 2, and Homeworld Cataclysm. When Gearbox bought the IP back in April of this year, I got in touch with them and we started a conversation about what my involvement in the HD remake could be. And what became apparent was Gearbox actually didn't get any of the original source files from the auction. They only had low quality audio that shipped in-game. So what we realized was this was an opportunity for me to go back and revisit work that I had done more than a decade ago and bring it up to modern standards in terms of fidelity and also 10 years of experience that I could bring to that old music. So what I'm going to show you today is just a little bit of that original source material and some of the things that you can look forward to in the HD remakes. The original audio for the Homeworld projects were played through a proprietary codec called FD Audio, and for the time it was a very good audio system. But listening back with modern ears, we find that the compression that was applied to the original mixes was really pretty bad. And it's amazing to me to realize that people who really enjoy this music and the gameplay experience haven't really heard the material in its true fidelity with all of its detail. So immediately I was like, wow, this is an incredible thing. Like, when does this happen in the history of entertainment where you get a chance to go back in time more than a decade and improve upon material that, as far as I was concerned, was long gone and was never coming back. So what I'm going to show you here is an original Pro Tools session from Homeworld 2 of the opening NIS. Luckily, these old Pro Tools 6 sessions opened up great in Pro Tools 10, and 10 years on, all of the separate tracks were intact, and I was able to put a new sort of perspective and experience, to this music. So I'll just play a bit of this here so that you guys get an idea of what I'm playing around with.
This is Tannis Control. We have visual contact with the core. Proceed with transfer.
So all the original tracks are intact. I can solo any item, add reverb, and just generally play around and improve upon the original.
The mothership recognizes the core and confirms signal lock.
So there's just a lot of work to do on all fronts, and that's just to get the HD remake up and running and sounding better than the originals. The other thing that that we were going to do is also add interactive music to the experience. So one of the things of having all of the original source material is that now we can take that music, which was stereo mixes, you know, back 10 years ago, and create layered effects so that the music can be a bit more immersive and, you know, respond more to the environment that that the gameplay happens in. So obviously the biggest dynamic in Homeworld is that toggling between Sensors Manager and the field of play. And what we're going to do is basically be able to break the music up into layers so that the instead of just ducking the music, we can actually drop certain instruments out of the track so that it's responding more on a tactical level, and I think creates a really interesting dynamic in terms of the play field being a cinematic experience, and pulling back out to Sensors Manager gives us that more you know, tactical overview, and you're not being confused and overwhelmed by all this music that's happening there. So I think the interactive music is going to be a really great addition to the HD remakes. So here's a little example of how that's all going to work.
Group 1 standing by. Ready. Order confirmed. Group 1 copies. Aggressive tactics confirmed. Fire at will. Resource collector.
So this is another thing that we will be doing, and I am really looking forward to not only the release of the HD remakes, but of finally the commercial release of the Homeworld music, which both albums comes in just over 2 hours of music. So obviously I have a lot to do before the release, and I just really hope that you enjoy the improvements that we're going to be bringing to the property. And that's about it from Studio X, and hopefully we'll see you next time at the next community event. So signing out for now. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
The soundtrack for the original games here, so at the highest quality remastered, and Powersky is going to be in charge of it, so it's going to be freaking amazing. So hell yeah. All right.
And actually, to follow that, I have here in my hand a ancient box. There's a date on it, March 19th, 99. This is the original DAT tapes from Homeworld 1 and the original digital source for Homeworld 2 as well. So in this box is all of the speech, music, in-game sound design, and everything from Paul to hand over to you guys right there.
Awesome. Wow.
So there it is. Gearbox now has Homeworld audio.
Drive safely when you go home, Rob.
Thank you, Paul.
Another thing we got, which is along the lines of some old sounds. If you pop back to the folders, there's a WAV file. It's called Campbell. It's a recording outtake from the original.
Actually, and while we're waiting for that, the vocalist that you guys heard there in the Homeworld 2 playback ball gave us, it's probably not widely known, but his name is Rhett Brewer, and he's a vocalist from London. The guy's actually, an interesting fact, he's actually fluent in 5 languages, including some dialects of Russian, and when he was up about to record the music there, I said, do you know what you're going to do? You know, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'll just make it up. I'll just make it up. So he just went in there and started singing, and he made up his own alien language that he sang for Homeworld 2. So throughout Homeworld 2, when you hear the singing, it's actually a sort of a legitimate language, but it's an alien tongue that's sort of a hybrid of Russian, some mad Russian gypsy dialect. I thought I'd share that with you.
It's very appropriate. Yeah.
Now I'm wondering if that ties into the official story in some way.
No, it doesn't. No. But that would be cool.
Homeworld 3, maybe. Do we have the outtake?
Campbell, fantastic. Could we have it again one time a little slower? The previous read you gave us was just a little more pedantic in style, just a slightly bit more casual.
Oh, God.
If we could have it one more time just a little slower, that would be awesome.
Okay. Going? Tyrannic raiders, servants of the Taidan, are arriving. They must not learn of our contact. We must depart. All that moves is easily heard in the void. We will listen for you. Farewell.
Great. Fabuloso.
And now Kushan.
Yep. Go ahead. Campbell, fantastic. Could we have it again one time a little slower? The previous read you
one
gave
other
us
one
was...
in there that's pretty funny too, because the characters in the game you don't hear them this way, so it's really fun to kind of.
Long-range sensors indicate a mothership-class mass signature. It's coming in fast. Power readings are off the scale. Full combat alert. Stand by for contact.
Mike, could we get that full combat alert? You're not addressing the whole mothership.
I know. Okay. All right.
Hold your horses there, bucko.
Yeah, easy turbo.
Yeah, let's take 4-4 from the top.
Yeah. Long-range sensors indicate a mothership-class mass signature. It's coming in fast. Power readings are off the scale. Full combat alert. Stand by for contact.
How many years old are those?
Oh God, that would have been early '99. So that was a while ago.
Yeah.
You know, there's kind of a giant haze of fog between then and now. You know, I vaguely remember those sessions, but it was a lot of fun. That was Mike's Suncheck, and we were obviously having a lot of fun. And Campbell Lane, the older actor, he was just amazing. So I look forward to doing this again soon.
Cool. All right, so let's move forward. I got a couple more questions we can answer. Oh.
The other images?
Which ones?
The images from the HD upres of the cinematics at all? Yeah.
Yep, on it. So these are some of the, so animatics, we're going to be upresing all of those as well, right? And so here's some of the images from the upres animatics. And these are actually being done by the original artists. And so they're as authentic as they can possibly be.
And if you're actually here in person, these are, I think, available at the merch booth, correct? You can pick these up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
Ooh. So yeah, so some of the guys, Aaron Cambitz and some of the other guys over at Blackbird, are helping us actually upres all these.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty awesome thing, because back in the day they were done at like what, 480 or something like that.
Yeah, I think less even. Yeah.
So we're taking those and actually taking them to 1080, so they're actually really high quality. And so I know a lot of people have been asking for us to post some of these online so you can use them as your backgrounds because they're awesome. We'll get to that. Let's see. I'm going to answer a couple more questions real fast if I can find my phone. We have some questions from, let's see. Wow, these get really detailed. I think the answer is pretty much yes to this, but this is pretty awesome. This goes to show how amazing the fans are. Okay, Homeworld, as a great game as it was, had several annoying bugs. In their third level, sometimes after loading all 6 cryo trays, the game would acknowledge it and would become stuck, forcing you to reset. Also on the 14th level, sometimes the entire sphere of the enemy frigates guarding the hyperspace inhibitor would simply turn around and start flying off the map partway through for no reason. Will we be fixing these issues? The answer is yes. Oh my God. This thing is, okay, this is from Dan Thompson, so thank you very much, Dan. There's about 8 more pages of this.
You might want to hire him.
My God, I'm going to save some of these questions for later. This guy's an encyclopedia. Okay, cool. So one of the things, also we're moving on. We're doing more than just making these HD games. We're actually going to go and move to the future. And so one of the big things we want to talk about is what we're doing with Blackbird. And so would you like to talk about how this came about and also some little bits of what we're doing?
Sure. So Homeworld Shipbreakers was originally called Hardware Shipbreakers. It was a desert-based RTS featuring giant vehicles, and the fantasy was a vehicle fantasy with a Russian doll game where all the vehicles fit inside ever bigger vehicles, and you salvaged great big spaceships in this huge desert planet. Obviously, we couldn't use the Homeworld name or license. It didn't belong to us. It belonged to THQ at the time. So we just really wanted to make this game. We really loved the style that we developed on Homeworld, and we thought it was a lot of fun. We wanted to work with the same team again, so we just went ahead and started making it. So right about when you guys acquired the Homeworld IP, it was looking clear to us that we needed considerably more resources to finish the game the way we wanted to. So that's when we started talking, and as these things, one thing leads to another, I guess.
Yeah, we met at E3 to kind of get a demonstration of the game, and we were blown away. I mean, we just absolutely couldn't believe how amazing Shipbreakers was. And so for us, we thought it made a lot of sense. Like, this should really be a Homeworld game. And so we sort of kind of dug into it a little bit and started asking Rob and JD some questions about what they wanted to do with it. And I think kind of let us know the situation you guys were in and how you guys wanted to finish this as something a little bit bigger. And I think that opened the door for us to really think differently about how the relationship between 2 developers could work.
Yeah, definitely a very interesting opportunity. Also, I mean, it was so begging to be Homeworld anyway. I mean, it looked like Homeworld, it played like Homeworld, it smelled like Homeworld. It was dusty and deserty. Set as a prequel on the planet of Karak, it just made perfect sense. So we couldn't be happier. So we're really excited. We know what we're doing. We know how we're going to do it. We're excited about the relationship, and we're really excited about the fans. I mean, we've been overwhelmed by the response by the fans out there that are stoked on the first 2 games and really excited about what's going to happen with this one. So.
Yeah, and you've been able now to move away from a free-to-play model.
That's right. Yeah.
To a big release, and that's going to be really exciting for us to go through that with you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something the fans wanted as well. A lot of people were suspicious and dubious about the free-to-play model, and doing it as a commercial product just makes so much sense. I mean, if you look at the base runner there, it looks so much like the vehicle in that Homeworld animatic still we were just looking at 2 seconds ago, the black and white still. I mean, it's, come on, yeah, that's great.
All right. So we're going to talk about a couple more things we're thinking about. We haven't decided, so we need your guys' help to understand if we should. And so Mr. Martell is going to ask you a couple questions to gauge your thoughts there.
Well, one of the things when we did get a lot of the source from Rob and those guys is we started to go through all of the concept art, and we realized there's this just massive repository of just the most beautiful concept art. I mean, you've seen it online probably, and you can see sort of some of that, but there's a ton more. And I think there's, you guys have reams of stuff that you've done also on paper that is no one's ever seen before, that's in their personal collection. Also stuff that was done for the animatics and all these kind of things. So I'm kind of trying to gauge from everyone whether they'd like to see something like, an art book from Homeworld. And I don't know if any of you guys would. Yeah. And so we're gonna do a survey, and we'll put that online soon in the next couple of weeks, and kind of find out what people think about this, and how many people really would like to get this. And if there's enough of a response, then we're going to go forward and make a really amazing, high quality art book that's no one's ever done that for Homeworld before. The other thing we'd like to do is really contemplate, when we're doing these releases of the HD versions, to also do a physical version, because it's great to have the digital version, but there's never, this came out in an era when there's no collector's editions like what we have now. And that's the other thing that I'd like to find out is, would people be interested in, a physical version of the game that has, do you put a ship in there? Do you put, the art book? Do you put, the soundtrack and all those kind of things? Is that something that interests people? Yeah. All right, so
you should definitely put a ship in there, man.
Yeah, we need a ship, right? All right. Full, yeah, we'll see what we can do. But we're going to kind of gauge the response and see what people are interested in. If we can do it, I think this would be really amazing for everybody to be able to have, this just these cool, remembrances of Homeworld. So, yeah.
So for people who want to vote yes on that, where should they watch for the survey? Twitter?
Yeah, watch on gearboxsoftware.com, and we're gonna figure out where we're gonna do that. We're kind of working that through, and yeah, look on the Twitter accounts for all the different Gearbox folks. I'm sure we'll announce it for the Gearbox Twitter account itself. So yeah.
Just put me down as a yes for all of them.
Will do. So you're gonna sign 10,000? Is that what I heard? Is that what you just said? Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here. Cool. So that's kind of. Oh, I should answer some more questions real fast. I can go back to Mr. Dan Thompson. Okay. Another issue is the sometimes lengthy wait at the end of levels to harvest all available resources. All Homeworld games dealt with this differently. In the original Homeworld, you could end the mission early, but this put you at a disadvantage if you hadn't harvested all the resources. In Homeworld 2, the levels ended and all resources present were harvested automatically, even when this wouldn't make sense. Then you'd complete all your objectives. Which of these approaches might the remakes standardize? That is a very interesting question. I think that. I think that's something that I'll probably go to the forums and ask everyone what they think is the right way to do, because there's gameplay implications, right, for both games. And so when we're making the HD version of Homeworld 1 and HD version of Homeworld 2, these actually change the balance of the game to a certain degree. So that's actually a really good question, Mr. Thompson. So yes, go onto the Gearbox Software forums for the Homeworld, and please, interact. I'm on there all the time, talking to people and chatting about random things, and so yeah, definitely go on there and ask these questions, and we'll actually, add them to our things to do, to fix or to address. Because I gotta say, there's so many things in these games that people found that they wish was a little different or was broken in a little way that we would never be able to figure out by playing it ourselves, because there's so much history here and so many huge fans who are awesome to work with on this. So yeah, go to the forums and interact with us, and we're there. And we'll do some more of that.
So before we started, Haley brought up some very cool Homeworld gear that is up at the merch booth, like the shirt that you're wearing. And I told her I would show it off, but only on the condition that I could show it off and then throw it out into the crowd. So start with the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking the hoodies will go farther. Okay, Doc Randy.